and that's about 4 years. And one of the things that we have learned is part of that experience, and as you know, the principal and the ed specialist part won't even kick in for another year. So one of the things we've learned is the advantage that Pennsylvania has about not being on the cutting edge. We're not the first ones to jump on a bandwagon. That's sometimes a blessing, and sometimes it's very frustrating for the change agents in Pennsylvania, including myself. But there are advantages to it. And one of the advantages is we've been able to watch other states who were successful at getting the race to the top money the first time around and had to get their evaluation systems up and running right away. And we've been able to watch and read the news stories and talk to them about the things that have happened to them along the way that were either negative or positive. And you know, the one that stands out in my mind was the big story about the teacher, I wouldn't even name the state, who had an excellent reputation, was highly valued in the school system, and had to be let go because she didn't do well on the new evaluation process. So as we are working our way through this process, we have started to get a lot of kudos from around the country, from other states, because we have been able to take our time. We've been through what started out as Pilot 1. We've been through 3 phases of experimentation as to what our program should look like, and we've learned an awful lot. I personally can't begin to tell you how many things I've learned about evaluation when I thought that I knew something about it starting this process. But it's changing so much, and I'm not only on the multiple measures side, which is an area that's wide open and experimental as far as I'm concerned, but also on the practice side, which has a much richer history for teachers, So I think that and I was really excited about today when we were approached by the leadership of PAC-TE to spend the whole day on evaluation and to see a national perspective as well as a state perspective, as well as the perspective of your colleagues and mine, because to me it's the beginning of the dialogue, and we've already heard so many good ideas. But I have a feeling that as we continue the dialogue, other things will come up, and that the first thing we need to decide is, what is the mission of our clinical experience in Pennsylvania? And then, what tools will better be able to serve us in accomplishing that mission? And, you know, I've already taken notes today, but I think we have a long way to go. I'm looking forward to talking with you this afternoon about the new evaluator system and the multiple measures side, and how I think that that's going to influence. I've started to have conversations with some of your colleagues about the impact that it's going to have just on student teaching itself, and the difference in attitude coming from school districts. And we're starting to hear a lot of talk about co-teaching. And what does that mean as we start to think about this process? So the message I have from us is that we're not in a hurry. We initially thought that as soon as they finished developing the evaluation system for schools, we would be able to just redo the 430 form. I'm not there now. I'm thinking that we really have a lot more thinking and talking to do before we decide what do we want to design or what do we want to sign on to for evaluation of student teaching and for the growth of our beginning teachers. A big piece of that is they're going to walk into a whole new environment their first year of teaching. It's going to be so different from what I experienced and others who have taught have experienced. And we need to absorb that, and we need to plan, because they're going to have an advantage over the teachers that are out there already and are going to get hit next year with a whole new environment, not to mention core standards, Pennsylvania core standards. So I'm looking forward to working with all of you. We all are. And thank you for all the ideas that are already emerging.
Our partner from PDE. Definitely last but not least, our speaker for today.
I have 4 things that I attempted to synthesize as people were talking, and I'm going to keep them brief. Partnerships. To be able to develop the trust that's necessary in a partnership so that a longer clinical experience will be valued and viewed as an asset rather than the presence of a student teacher as a liability. And I know that's difficult, but it requires partnerships that build that trust. So that's my first 2. The second two are also interrelated, and they only happen when you have, I believe, the partnership and the trust. So they predicate that, because with partnerships and trust, you can bring everyone to the table with the kind of goodwill that allows people to develop common language. And maybe you need common language before you have partnerships and trust. I'm not exactly sure. But having something that people can stand around together and say, this is what we believe in, and these are the kinds of outcomes we want our candidates to achieve. How are we going to do this together, and how do we trust one another to do it together, is absolutely essential. And the last piece, if we are trusting, developing in these partnerships, breaking down some of the silos that Jim mentioned between the clinical faculty, the people in the field, and the methods instructors and whatnot, if we have that common language, then we're more likely to have opportunity for our candidates to develop that ability to be reflective about their practice. And I want to go back to what Karen was saying, that the candidates or the teachers who are successful in that teacher evaluation system are those who view it as an opportunity for reflection. Well, that is exactly what we're trying to do with pre-service preparation assessment with edTPA and other tools like it. We want candidates to be able to analyze their practice, to be able to say what's working and what isn't and why, and to be able to build their practice around the needs of the learners they serve. So, common language, reflection, partnership, and trust as the cornerstone of the other three.
A thank you to our guest speaker. So now we finally have an opportunity to hear from you. We do have microphones that are around, because if you're not on a microphone, it won't actually show up on the video. So if you can raise your hand, we'll have the mics to you, and we'd love to hear from you. Questions for anyone on the panel? Now, y'all, there in the, John, all the way in the back, Tammy.
We haven't heard anything yet about the commercial feasibility distribution of this product from California at this point in time, and I'm curious, what is it that your commercial partner will do that will enable utilization of the assessment schemes throughout the country? And how can we as institutions prepare ourselves for the costs that we might have to bear in the process?
Mm-hmm. Pearson is an operational partner, just as National Board has an operational partner, first with ETS and now with Pearson, to support operational scoring. That is Pearson's role. They have built a platform so that candidates can submit their materials. They have built that platform so it interfaces with the top 8 most popular data management systems like TaskStream, LiveText, TK20, Chalk and Wire, so candidates can use their home platform to build their materials and then submit to Pearson. The Pearson platform is the platform for scoring training, and for score reporting. That is the piece that they own, and for that service, they will have a fee. The candidates will pay a fee of about $300, and that is, as I said earlier, the lowest price point for performance-based assessment ever. Now, how can campuses help students offset the cost? And this is something that comes up all around the country. And I'm just going to name Vanderbilt because they figured it out first. But University of Cincinnati would be another campus, along with a couple of others in Tennessee and Ohio. Campuses have figured out ways to include the assessment fee as part of a student teaching fee, a course fee, a lab fee, and it's still a fee. It's still paid. But it is built into the structure so that it can be supported by financial aid or other fee structures, scholarship offered to the candidates. Now, $300 is a lot of money, and I know for many of your students are already paying high tuition fees. The fees are constant on the rise. The state-supported schools are not supported in the ways they once were, and everybody's paying more money and trying to do more with less. So we respect that, and we hope that people will see this as an opportunity for ongoing learning. And one thing I didn't mention in my closing remarks, Karen, in your conversation about the teachers being so reflective and getting the most out of the evaluation because they could set goals. I've heard from campuses around the country, and this was my own experience at San Jose State too with PACT, that when a candidate has an opportunity to do this sort of assessment and builds that sort of mindset, when they face the district or the state teacher evaluation systems, they just jump right in. We had a candidate from Tennessee recently say, well, after edTPA, the district assessment was no big deal because I already had those reflective practices in mind. I knew how to collect artifacts. I knew how to plan for the learning needs of my students. And I knew how to videotape myself. So, Mel, I don't think I've fully addressed your question. I do have a follow-up. Yes, Pearson will make money on this assessment, but I know how much they've already had to invest in the infrastructure and to support the development work. It's going to take them a little while to make a nickel.
One last question.
But they wouldn't do it if they weren't going to make money. And that is, you know, unfortunately our society, where if we need services, we pay for them and people make money.
I apologize. One last question. Yes.
Yeah, hi, Joseph Ellie from St. Joe's University. I just want to put in the background that I'm concerned that we're building a tension that is going to be very difficult to manage, and that is the amount that we're putting into these programs. We just went through a transformation. We added courses for accommodations and adaptations. We have a 4A program that's already bulging at the seams, yet there's a requirement that you must do it within 4 years. I mean, are we really moving toward a 5-year undergraduate program? I love the idea of extending student teaching. I just don't know when we can do this. How are we going to put all these potatoes into this very limited bag? That's my question.
George, are you able to explain more about not extending but incorporating?
Sure. We're not talking, I was not speaking necessarily about extending student teaching, but rather merging it, if you will, with an existing stage 3 or junior level field experience and making that a more longitudinal experience in total, right? So I'm not talking about making student teaching per se be a full year. The student teaching portion, the stage 4, if you think about the PDE framework, would be still 1 semester's time, but it would follow a stage 3 experience in the same classroom, fall to spring, or spring to fall too, for that matter too. And if you think about all the things that candidates will benefit from doing it fall to spring, the spring to fall folks will get a chance to see, you know, the summer regression issues unfold.
Scheduling difficulties with general education courses, plus now you're going out to the buildings more. It just seems like it's some scheduling issues that are going to arise by trying to make it more clinical, yet still do all that content work back in the home schools.
Can I address that as well? One of my favorite people I work with is Ron Zur. He was a faculty member who came from Israel, and Ron said one day in a meeting, look, I grew up on a kibbutz. We did everything together. We had problems. I came here, you do everything separately. We have problems. It's a matter, so he said, no matter what you do, you have problems. You have to figure out which are better problems to have. So you're right, there are problems, no doubt about it. Which is a better problem, to have a program that's disconnected from practice, or to have a program that you have to worry about scheduling? I think that's a better problem.
Michelle has the last word.
I might want to add too, you know, we're talking about building the trust, building those partnerships. There's a lot that, you know, pre-K through 12 can help with as we have those conversations, which I hope continue to be ongoing, and we begin to develop, you know, we can help with some of the pieces that might be specific to the teacher effectiveness system. You know, when new teacher candidates are in our building, we can offer professional development. We can partner. We can do some of those things too. Together we can get it done. It's not about putting all the eggs in one basket or all the eggs in another basket. You know, pre-K 12, we've been struggling this for a very long time as state mandates have come our way. And I think I think the answer is in doing it together. I don't think the answer is in doing it separately at all.
Even though we need about another hour for this panel, I need to stop to get everyone to lunch. Please join me in thanking the panel. For our panelists who are here, we have appreciation gifts for you. I really, truly wish that we could have you for another hour, but we do need to move on. But we do want to show how much we appreciate your efforts today. We are back in this room at 1 o'clock. Enjoy your lunch. See you then.
Thank you very much, Jerry.